Might have put the wrong search in. No. American Declaration of Indigenous Peoples. This is what the American one looked like. Right? Now, when you go down through it, the General Assembly recalling the contents of resolution, and they got the name of it, Draft American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as previous resolutions on the issue. Okay, recognizing the valuable support provided by the member states, observer states, and the organs, agencies, and entities of the Organization of American States for the process in the working group to prepare the draft American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. So they had a whole fucking legal think tank put together to restore the indigenous people's rights. I wish they'd have said organic peoples, because that would have been more specific. But we're going to use what they gave us. Right? Recognizing also the important participation of indigenous people of the Americas in the process of preparing this declaration, and taking into account the significant contribution that the indigenous people of the Americas have made to humanity. Right? And it goes on to say, recognizing the rights of indigenous people are both essential and of historical significance to the present and future of the Americas. The important presence in the Americas of indigenous people and their immense contributions to development, plurality, which means to have different cultures brought over here, and cultural diversity, which means to assimilate other cultures without disrupting them, and reiterating our commitment to the economic and social well-being, as well as the obligation to respect the rights and cultural identity, and that the existence of the indigenous cultures and peoples of the Americas is important to humanity. Now, that's right here. So y'all know, I'm putting on here so y'all can see it, because I'm not making this shit up as I go. This is already done. Reaffirming that indigenous people are original, diverse societies with their own identities that constitute an integral part of the Americas. Concerned that the indigenous people have suffered from historic injustices as a result of inter alia. That's invasion, for y'all don't know. I mean, aliens came in. Inter alia, that means somebody came in from somewhere else. It's just like their colonization and the dispossession of their lands, territories, and resources, thus preventing them from the exercising, in particular, their right to develop in accordance with their own needs and interests. Recognizing the urgent need to respect and promote the inherent rights of indigenous peoples, which derive from the political, economic, and social structures, and from the cultures, spiritual traditions, histories, and philosophies, especially their right to their lands, territories, and resources. Recognizing also the respect for indigenous knowledge, cultures, and traditional practice contributes to sustainable and equitable development and proper management of the environment. I'm not making this shit up. I'm going to go back to the cover because I'm going to show it to y'all again. This is the Declaration, American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. This shit is already done. They didn't already agreed in this document to give us every fucking thing back, but we have to do something. We had to do some crazy ass shit that we ain't did since before the settlers came, and that's called unity. That insane ass shit called unity. We had to come together in agreement to execute this paperwork that they already agreed. When we execute this, we have the full support of the U.S. military to bring this shit into fruition. All we have to do is demand to free Larry Hoover. Yeah,
Can you
scope of
see it?
application, section 1. The American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People applies to the indigenous people of the Americas. That's us, right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? What number 2 say? Self-identification as indigenous people will be a fundamental criteria for determining to whom this declaration applies. States shall respect the right to such self-identification as indigenous, whether individually or collectively, in keeping with the practices and institutions of each indigenous people. That part right there is telling you that you have to self-identify. See, the first thing it says, self-identification. That means that you identify yourself as an indigenous people and that you are the one responsible for stating your status, right? And the states shall respect the right to such self-identification as indigenous, whether it's an individual or a group, individually or collectively, in keeping with the practices and institutions of each indigenous people. That means
Mm-hmm.
that some tribes are slightly different in cultural expression of the same culture.
Mm-hmm.
One tribe might barbecue turkey for the chief, but another one might slaughter a bison,
Mm-hmm.
right? But whichever one it is, we know what the culture is saying. All right. Article 2 says states recognize and respect the multicultural and multilingual character of indigenous peoples who are an integral part of their societies, right? When they say multicultural, that means it's a whole lot of different cultures from the land.
Mm-hmm.
And then it say multilingual character. That
Mm-hmm.
means that we got a lot of languages.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't say that, well, you don't speak this language, you ain't indigenous. They can't say that because they right here acknowledging that, and they saying that we are an integral part of the society.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these things are an integral part of our societies, right? So then we go into Article 3. Indigenous people have the right to self-determination. What that means? Your rights is not negotiable. They are inalienable. So self-determination is you got the right to determine which one of the chiefs you following, if you following the one in your direct bloodline descent, or if you following the one from your tribal clan descent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's different per tribe across the land because they already told you we got a multi cultures on our land already before they came,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And by virtue of that right to self-determination, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. That means that they can't interrupt us economically, our social behaviors of our tribal affiliations. They can no longer persecute us for wearing feathers in public,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And cultural development, that means going back to our original traditions and customs, because we have to go back to our shit to overthrow their shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, people, group, or persons any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act contrary to the character of the Organization of American States or of the Charter of the United Nations, or construed as authorizing or encouraging any action which would dismember or impair, totally or in part, the territorial integrity and political unity of sovereign and independent states. What that mean?
Yeah.
That means that Article 4 of this declaration says that the United Nations can't interfere in our business, nor any other individual states that's under the Charter, Organization of American States, or the Charter of the United Nations. So the United Nations is also in an agreement with America, right, which gave them control of the policing policies on the land. That's why they closed now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right, let's go on to the next part. Does this look like we getting to something?
So that shit get lit, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, human rights and collective rights, right? Full effect and observance of human rights. Remember what Malcolm said? We don't need civil rights.
Yeah, right?
He said we need human rights, right?
Mm-hmm.
This it right here. Indigenous people and individuals have the right to the full enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms as recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, the Charter of the Organization of American States, and international human rights laws. That means this taking all of those people they just named in there,
Mm-hmm.
that they saying they can't interfere in our fundamental freedoms and our basic human rights any longer.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, they was an occupied government masquerading as a de facto government when they were, as a de jure government when they were in fact operating under the color of law in a de facto capacity and giving us the illusion that they had the authority. But all corporations derive their authority, all corporate political bodies, from the people that they govern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you don't give them the right to govern you, which Trump signed the second Declaration of Independence in July of 2020. Right? So I sent that to you. We were probably going to get you pulling up. Yep. So like the first 5 minutes of that video is fire.
Yeah.
All right. Now we go to something called collective rights. That means when we stand together in unity, all this right here apply to us standing together as the collective unified clans on the land or the tribes of the land. Indigenous people have collective rights that are indispensable for their existence, well-being, and integral development as a people. In that regard, states recognize and respect the rights of indigenous people to their collective action, to their that word look like it's misspelled.
Action.
It say juridical, which it should have been jurisdictional, social, political, or judicial, social, political, and economic systems or institutions. This is giving us back control of Big Mama Bank right here.
Yeah.
To their own cultures. Our culture, we already had a banking system. To profess and practice their spiritual beliefs, to use their own tongues and languages, and to their lands, territories, and resources, states shall promote with the full and effective, let's go to the next page.
Oh, shit. Right there.
Participation of indigenous peoples, the harmonious coexistence of the rights and systems of different population groups and cultures. This is saying that one clan can't interfere with how another clan handle their business, but at the same time, all of us can come together in agreement to oust the imposter. That's basically what it's saying. Keep going. We're gonna deal with it because we already know what the gender thing is with our people.
All right, let's go. rights belonging to indigenous people.
Right to belong to indigenous people. Indigenous individuals and communities have the right to belong to one or more indigenous peoples in accordance with the identity, traditions, customs, and systems of belonging of each people. No discrimination of any kind may arise from the existence of such a right. Right? So they recognize that we got different cultures under tribes, and they recognize that we shouldn't be, there's no more discrimination based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Judicial personality. Oh, that's a good one. States shall recognize. Is that judicial? I can't really tell. It looked like, okay, states shall recognize fully the judicial personality of indigenous people, respecting indigenous forms of organization and promoting the full existence of the rights recognized in this declaration. That looked like juridical.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. I don't think it's juridical.
Yeah, that's coming from the root word juris as in jurisprudence.
Matter of fact.
Yeah, you got the legal dictionary. Pull in the definition of that motherfucker up so we can get more detail with this shit.
That shit ain't running no game. But how they play with the words, but they be twisting shit around. Okay.
Now, the two most important parts I want to get to after we define this word is where they said that, because this one made me think about it. It's like indigenous people had a right to maintain, express, and freely develop their cultural identity in all respects, free from any external attempt at assimilation. That means they can no longer force us to assimilate into the overall society in order to be functional as a tribe. That means that we can do business with our own, and we ain't gonna suffer no backlash from it. And remember what Garvey said: beware them assimilationist ass Negroes.
That joint not even in this joint. Let's see. I might can pull up on JRT. All right. In the civil law of Louisiana, the expression of will that is intended to have legal consequences.
Read that again. So, kind of like staticky when he was reading.
It says in an expression or will that is intended to have legal consequences.
Yeah. So it goes back to the root word, like I said, juris, which is dealing with the law. So this is saying that there will be lawful impact for interfering with us.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So now we want to go to the part where they say we got a right to all tribal lands.
Because this is the protecting against genocide. People have the right not to be the objects of any form of genocide or attempted to exterminate them. That's already happening. I was waiting to get this and go down to the land. Right, culture, identifying. Okay, that's not it. Man, it's right here, some good stuff right here for teach your kids. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in America.
This part right here was talking about going back to our own culture. Now this is giving us the right to educate our children right here.
Okay.
Education.
You want? Okay, keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go down. Indigenous spiritual. That's like the practice
Oh,
whatever.
stop right there. We got to read that. Our spirituality is important enough for us to read that here on page 17. That's a Q flip. Indigenous people had a right to right freely to exercise their own spirituality and beliefs, and by virtue of that right to practice, develop, transmit, and teach their traditions, customs, and ceremonies, and to carry them out in public and in private, whether individually or collectively. So this is so that when we have Mardi Gras from coast to coast, nobody don't try to stop us. That's what that's for.
Mm-hmm. All right. You gonna read the part 2 or keep on going down?
I want to go to the part on the land.
Land, okay, indigenous family.
And the resources.
Okay, all right. Here. Right to protect health environment. All right, resemble freedom. It's like the Constitution is kind of like based on some of this stuff too, with all the add-ons.
Mm-hmm. Right there, stop.
Okay. Right here.
Back up.
Okay.
Autonomy and self-government. That's important.
Okay, right there.
Yeah. Remember, I was telling you to be autonomous. Self-government is to govern yourself, is to be autonomous. This is right here, the right to autonomy or self-government. Indigenous people, in exercising their right to self-determination, have the right to autonomy or self-government in matters relating to their internal and local affairs, as well as ways and means for financing their autonomous functions. So they saying from this that it's got to be provided for them to do this. Provisions got to be made, right? 2, indigenous people had a right to maintain and develop their own decision-making institutions. This talking about restoring the matriarchy right here. Mm-hmm. They also have the right to participate in decision-making in matters which would affect their rights. Anything affect our rights, if we ain't in it, they can't do it. Okay. They may do so directly or through representatives, and in accordance with their own norms, procedures, and traditions. They also have a right to equal opportunities in accessing and participating fully and effectively as peoples in all national institutions and forums, including deliberative bodies. That means no politics go down and they exclude us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They right there, they agree that don't no politics go down on this land called the Americas, and we ain't in it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go. Indigenous law and jurisdiction. Indigenous people had a right to promote, develop, and maintain their institutional structures and their distinctive customs, spirituality, traditions, procedures, practices, and, in the cases where they exist, judicial systems or customs in accordance with international human rights standards. Okay. Oh, no. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, all right. Okay, so and then it say indigenous law and legal systems shall be recognized and respected by national, regional, and international legal systems. Mm-hmm. Right. So this is because when we kick them off the land, they jurists got to go. They bar associations have to go. Right. And you already heard them say that they've been already told to leave. Yeah, they formed. I sent you that video, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, matters concerning indigenous individuals or their rights or interests in the jurisdiction of each state shall be conducted in such a way as to afford indigenous individuals the right to full representation with dignity and equality before the law. Consequently, they are entitled without discrimination to equal protection and benefit of the law, including the use of linguistic and cultural interpreters. Right? So now it's a part in here. Let's hold on. It's a matters concerning indigenous individuals or their rights or interests in the jurisdiction of each state shall be conducted in such a way as to afford indigenous individuals the right to full representation with dignity and equality before the law. This is the part where we call Larry Hoover for with this. Because he has to give a report on the land to the rest of the chiefs, and he can't do it as an inmate. He can't be a bond servant and a king or a prince or a chief. Right? So this is what this is telling us. He has to give us this report. They already know that this is part of our long-standing tradition before they ever came here. Right? That's why they said we're not going to remember our culture. This is telling us when we lean on our culture, they have to accommodate it. That's what that's saying. So this is the part where we calling for free Larry Hoover right here, because the three kings represent full representation on the world stage. And you see right here where it say they are entitled without discrimination to equal protection and benefit of the law, including the use of linguistic and cultural interpreters. And equality. Okay, so it was one before that where it was saying this is even applied international law. Right? So the goal is to go back to our culture.
That's right. That's right. That's heavy. Go ahead.
All right. So now let's see if we can't find about the land.
Okay. Let's go down. Treaties, agreements. This is good stuff right here to have in the archives, man.
Yeah. This is the
Here you go right here.
Traditional forms of property and cultural right to land, territory, and resources. Now watch what it say. Because it's now remember, this is legalese, so every word, go back up.
I got you right there.
Every word is deliberate and intentional. It's been scrutinized by many, many legal writers for every single word. So this is important to know at this part of the read. It's number one, indigenous people have the right to maintain and strengthen their distinctive spiritual, cultural, and material relationship with their lands, territories, and resources, and to uphold their responsibilities to preserve them for themselves and for future generations. That's giving us the entirety of the land right there to take charge of. Right? Indigenous people have the right to the lands, territories, and resources. That's reparations, y'all. Resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used and acquired. Right? That's critical. Indigenous people have the right to own, use, develop, and control. See that word control in there?
Yep, control.
Lands, territories, and resources that they possess by reason of traditional ownership or other traditional occupation or use, as well as those which they otherwise acquired. This is telling you right here that the clan that used to be over the coal mines, they gonna inherit the coal mines. And the wealth accumulated with interest from coal mines ever since them motherfuckers been here. That's the resource that they talking about. Right? Okay, let's go to the next one. States shall give legal recognition, and protection to these lands, territories, and resources. Again, such recognition shall not be conducted with due respect to the customs, traditions, and land tenure system of the indigenous peoples concerned. Right? So that means that they have to honor the tradition of the people that's concerned or that's making the people known to what's going on the land. Right? Now, it says indigenous people have the right to legal recognition of the various and particular modalities, that means different modes and forms of property, possession, and ownership of their lands, territories, and resources. Keep saying resources.
Yeah, right. That's heavy.
Right? That's all of the stuff that they grab from the earth to sustain the life of the people on the earth. Those are resources. In accordance with the legal system of each state and the relative or the relevant international instruments, states shall establish special regimens appropriate for such recognition and for their effective demarcation or titling. That means that we can change the boundary lines according to clans and tribal traditions back to what they was, if we so choose to. Because that's what demarcation or titling is. That's holding deeds to land that you can rent out, which means you tax, and to draw the boundary lines, how much of the land is encased in this land, this boundary. That's called a line of demarcation, right?
Hey, the Louisiana Purchase was bigger. That Louisiana Purchase land that they had, it was bigger than just Louisiana when they did that. Land.
So what they did is they followed the Rocky Mountains up the west coast to Oregon and Washington State, and then they marched back across the land. They went to the Appalachian Mountains. So it's everything south of the Mississippi. I mean, not the Canadian border, everything south of the Canadian border. West of the Appalachian Mountains, east of the Rocky Mountains, going down into Louisiana. That's Big Mama land.
Yeah. Cooking up with Big Mama.
Right. Now, all of our settlers, anybody that came, had to settle on the eastern side of the Appalachians. If they came from the east, if they came from the west, they had to settle on the western portion from the Rockies on the western side to the coast. Right, until they was able to get a viable piece of land. Big Mama would allot them a piece of land once they've been around and the nature of them is seen. Then she give them a plot of land and tell them, vine and fig tree, what you do on this land is your own vine and fig tree, but we all go to pay homage to Big Mama. Right? So when you send your delegations across, you have your chief scouts check in with the chief scouts on the land and the territory you traverse. We don't want people coming through without us knowing they coming through because it looked like they under attack. Because we travel in caravans, in groups. And when we all went to fight in the Seminole Wars, we left in tribes. Right? And they called them Seminoles because that's actually from a Latin word which means to be mixed, semi. Partial, because we was a mixture of tribes. Right? Now they tell the story that the Seminoles was African escaped slaves and Native Americans to try to make us think that we didn't have nobody that looked like us over here. Now, I keep telling people the Africans been telling us for the longest we indigenous over here. We organic to the land over here. Ab-original. That means original from the heart. Ab is the Egyptian word, mean heart. Right? So we are ab-original. We from the original, or energy is source energy. Ab, or, right? And then you add the suffix original. Right? Of or pertaining to those two things. The heart of the origin, or the or energy, source energy. That's tying us back on the maker, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Thus says Elijah Muhammad. Right? That's all wise, right, and exact. What the people in the comments talking about? We ain't made no acknowledgement of the comments yet.
Yeah. The comments, they just they're shouting us out, keeping it true. Alien warlord, Inky was a scientist. Okay. Hey, if you got any comments, any questions for the brother Rod Haynes, post them in the comments. Like I say, I posted this. The brother don't do it for money, but we like to show the brother love, because the big brother love, because he coming through, he be dropping it on us, man. He be giving us the pieces that we need. So I posted his Cash App in the links. So hit him up, man. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about sending young L nut, man. Just send it to brother Rod Haynes. And yeah, so you got any questions, man, hit us up, man, because we can keep going, but we want to get some feedback from y'all so we can see, what we can talk about.
Okay, so let's see if we can't find the resources part. Where it was talking about the resources.
Okay, labor rights. Okay, let me do it. Let me get it. Let's see. All right. I think here's somewhat protection, culture, heritage, and property. Is that a good one?
Stop. Back up.
Okay. Right there.
Right there. Okay. So this is protection of cultural heritage and intellectual property. This is for the people in the music and entertainment industry who've been getting 360 raping you record deals. Right? And for the ones that the Jewish Defense League, the JDL, was murdering them, following that order of the Catholic Church that we went over earlier. Right? And when they was murdering them, they was taking they earned property because their intellectual property is theirs. But they was tricking them out of it and signing them into contracts, using a system of levying liens in order to leave the family deprived after the fact. That means that everything they took from Paris Jackson, they have to give it back to her.
Dang. That's crazy.
Her whole father estate that they took from her, the Sony records got to go back to her. All of that got to go back to her. And because he didn't default on his estate. They got to give her the opportunity to adjust the records of the estate, but she couldn't have had enough time to do that because she was a baby. Right? So they had to hold it. The proper process in law is hold the estate in abeyance until the children turn old enough to resolve the estate. So they got rid of it before her 18th birthday. She didn't reach the age of majority. They got to give it all back to her. They robbed the baby. They robbed the baby with their lies. They literally robbed the baby of her father's hard-earned estate. Right? So this is what this is talking about right here.
All right. You want to go down? You want to find that part about the resources, though, right?
Right to development. That's indigenous people had a right to maintain and determine their own priorities with respect to their political, economic, social, and cultural development in conformity with their own cosmovision. They also have the right to be guaranteed the enjoyment of their own means of sustenance and development, and to engage freely in their economic activities. This is right here is our family bank. This is telling us that we have to put our family banks back together so we can decentralize the centralized bank and everybody big mama gonna have their own family bank and their own accountants in the family, their money handlers. It say the right include the development of policies, plans, program, and strategies, and the exercise of their right to development and to implement them in accordance with their political and social organizations, norms, and procedures, own cosmovision and institution. So when they saying cosmovision, right, that means your cosmology, cosmogony review. How do you see the creation story is your own business, right? And that they don't have no right to step on your belief systems with your cosmovision. We destined to rule Earth. Why did we say that? Because we have the blood tied to the land of the rulers of the earth. That's all. It's nothing personal. It's just family business. So this right here tells us by using that cosmovision, we activate the ancient code of kings, and we proceed as pretenders to the thrones in order to restore balance to the earth by restoring the lands that we got an absolute right, according to this document, to restore. We already went over that earlier, remember? All right, now, what we're looking for now is
the resources, right?
The resources. When they gave us the right to the resources.
Right, peace, security, protection. All right, I think it's coming up here soon. General provision. All right, we recognize for declare. All right, it's got to be coming up here. National scope. Declaration.
You remember I went over it in you passed.
Okay,
I went over it with. Yeah, I went over it with that brother in the video I did. That
yeah. So it had to be like because that's at the beginning, right? I think.
It's in the middle somewhere.
Okay. Article. Yeah, that resource part is heavy, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we've been getting jacked like a mug, man. Okay. It's got to be remedy. Right. Rights, freedom, recognize, self promotion, so for provision. Yeah, I think it might be down a little bit more then, because I think it's like 70-something pages on this joint. So, right to it's got to be down then, because we went over just about every report up there. All right, I think it's got to be down here, probably like on page. Let's see.
Hey, don't you got a little search bar at the top?
Yeah, you're right. Let me see.
Where you can search, document search.
Let me see.
Type resources in there. It's like a little magnifying glass icon.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, let's type that in. Okay, I think it's right here then. Resource. I think it's right here. And this is that's page 50. Hold on, I think it's this page. Hold up, let's go back up a little bit. It might be it's right up in here. Indigenous. Yeah, I think it's hold on. Let's go down a little bit. It's like right up in here. Hold up, resource, boom, resource, natural. Hold up.
Hold on, that look like it.
The title of it is resource. Okay,
no,
right
we're just looking for the word.
Okay, there you go. It start right here.
See where it said, okay, stop right there. Let's start right here. Indigenous communities, free, prior, and informed consent being approved. Projects that could affect their lands and territories and other resources. So we got to go back. We got to read the first part of that paragraph, so we'll be all.
Let's go back.
We caught up.
Let's go back.
Right. According to the understanding that this declaration approach to prior consent is different and could amount to a possible veto in the absence of an agreement which could bring processes of general interest to a halt. The contents of this article are unacceptable to, this is a footnote.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's a footnote. I think it go down a little bit right here because they got a natural resources. They got like a piece right here. It goes into natural resources. Hold on. I think we're about to get ready to come up on it. Hold on, let me go back. I think it's right here. Article. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Rights belonging to indigenous. Hold on, what's that for? Hold up. Yeah, the only parts, okay. They got a part right here.
How many times is resources mentioned in there? It's a number count up there.
It's like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right up there where you typed it in at.
Oh, so 23 times. 23 times.
Okay, you see that arrow that points up?
Yeah.
Yeah, click that. It's gonna go up to resources.
Resources.
Hold on 1 second. Right there. Go to the beginning of this. That's it.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Damn, how we missed it?
Bro, stop.
Okay, right there.
Scroll back down.
Okay.
Right there.
All right.
Okay. This is what we read earlier.
Yeah.
Go down some more. Stop. Shall adopt effective reparations measures and provide adequate resources for said reparations in conjunction with the indigenous peoples concerned for the damages or harm caused by armed conflict.
Damn, that's it. Got him. That's a piece that got him right there because we definitely.
It's another place this is a secondary analysis on the resources being returned. It's closer to the top of the document, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Where
where
the article is. I think that's just the discussion at the footnotes.
Territory resources. We
right there. Indigenous people had a right to the lands, territories, and resources which they have traditionally owned, occupied, or otherwise used or acquired. That's all the stuff they wasn't allowed to trade. Remember all the oil in Mexico that they've been pumping for the last 45 years and nobody's selling it? That's it. That's it right there, because that's our shit. They're not allowed to sell it, but they can borrow money against it. Indigenous peoples have the right to own, use, develop, and control the lands, territories, and the resources. The resources is the stuff we call gross national product or gross domestic product. It's right here. This is it right here. This is giving you your reparations.
So commodity money. Real, like, the grain, wheat, everything that's grew up.
No fiat. They can't come to anything on this land that they've mined from under the ground. They built it using the resources from the land. So we talking about big industry now. Big tech. Right? All this stuff is being produced over here in mass has to go through a tribal screening process so that we can be adequately compensated for being misused on our land. That's what this is talking about.
Dang. So
you got to remember, a right is not a privilege. That means can't nobody stop you from exercising your right but you. Right? And then we as a tribesman is supposed to alert the other tribes people, hey, this is what we discovered. Look into it, fine tune it. You might be an expert in this field more than me. I'm just showing you what I see so you can take it to the next level. So now, Malachi York and Angel Bay, all them, they rally and they attorneys around the legal aspects of this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So first, their attorney had to recuse themselves from being a bar member.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All bar members are international criminals in violation of international law.
Mm-hmm.
Operating as a fictitious corporation, masquerading as a government to deceive the people, to kidnap the children, murder, rape, rob, steal, and everything they said in a white man's burden that we went over earlier, or they edicts of the Pope to
Mm-hmm.
massacre us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we've been
Mm-hmm.
putting up documents. We've been reading these documents, literally reading these documents that people can go look up themselves. Since I don't get no references, what do you think the listener think about my reference position now? None of the Moors is telling them about this Indigenous Rights Act.
Mm-hmm.
They still
Mm-hmm.
talking about the shit Noble Drew Ali was talking about in 1929. That shit expired July the 4th, 2019.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They don't know that because they don't know about the 200-year agreement.
Yeah, right.
Right? And they don't know that why Noble Drew Ali had to go in to their secret societies and put the secrets out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the oral statements and prophecies, since he ain't say it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, I went into their secret societies and I put all of their secrets in the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't that in there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if he went in their secret societies, I'm telling you the secret society he went to, right? They was called the Moor Zionist Temple of Jews.
Mm-hmm.
That's who they was.
Yeah.
The black nobility, the conquistadors, Enlil children, the tutors. Their time is up. Our time is now. Our people just have to look at these documents because they important to understand this shit, because we are on the move to reclaim what's ours. All we have to do is get into critical mass of understanding among our people that this shit is a wrap, and we all of their cards come crumbling down.
Mm-hmm.
They train every last ditch effort of deception and fraud to hold on to their last few little sips of power because they know that they gone and they lost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, once the people understand what's taking place, the Moors can continue to stay in 1929 and teach how they've been teaching about Noble Drew Ali doctrine. That's their option. That's their tribe. I can't tell them how to operate their tribal business.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my tribe.
Mm-hmm.
My tribe is growth and development. If it's something that we doing I don't like, I'm gonna go to Larry Hoop.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the bottom line. They don't have to come to me. They don't have to answer to me. They got to answer to they chief muftis and grand sheiks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm just telling my people what we need to know to exercise our autonomy, our right to not be governed by a legal fiction under the color of law. They all know this. But they don't know what I'm telling y'all today, though. Not like I'm telling it to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We didn't put this shit together. We showed them the secret agreement. We showed them the oaths of the blood oaths to murderers.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
All you gotta do is tell y'all where the feathers at. They on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was the harvest festival. At the close of every harvest festival, the chief who led the clan to the fields to plant and farm, he got a blessing of a roasted turkey because the turkey was the symbol of the chief.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the southeastern clans. That's why it took place in Virginia. But Black Friday, after we drunk with their alcohol and we turkey doped up on tryptophan and we in a deep sleep after we done smoked all of the herbs we can smoke, because that's what we do at celebrations. They come in the middle of the night and start murdering us while we were asleep. Black Friday. Right? That's when they initiated the war. Black Friday.
Damn.
But the Thanksgiving, the Harvest Festival, is not the same day in every tribe. Because you got different harvest seasons across the land based on the geography. You might be able to start harvesting something in Mississippi as early as June. That same crop wouldn't be ready in Michigan until late July, early August. So you was having all of these harvest festivals taking place all over the land. Corn is a celebratory dish for all of the tribes. We used to have a corn festival where the women who made the best corn dishes, they all came to Big Mama house. That's where you get these cook-offs at. That's our custom. You know? And it was always an honor to make something with corn because the carbon in corn is the same as the carbon in us.
Yeah, these suckers it's some sucker in the building. Cause I did a class this morning, I mistakenly said Inky instead of Ilya. But yeah, that was just a mistake, man. So I made the correction on the comments if you had read the comments. But I think that dude is a black damn devil just in here trying to start some shit, man. So
yeah, I seen that comment. I watched that video earlier.
Yeah, so it was just a mistake, man. So yeah, if you want to come in just to be funny, I could block you. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see who laughing then. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I already blocked him. So good luck, brother. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, well, that's how we get down.
Well,
yeah,
you know. Well, me personally, I don't block nobody. I want these motherfuckers to see my come up.
Yeah, right. Hey, look, I think he just trying to be funny, man. So you know, there's some funny niggas, comedians out here, and we like comedians. They the fools. Like we had fools. You know, they dress up and they do shit in clown outfits.
Jesters.
Yeah, jesters. Yeah, man. You know what it is, man. Take overstand the game. Take what you can take. Hey, but you was going in, brother, because they said last time I was interrupting you. That's why I want to say too much. I want to let you talk. They said you interrupted, but you pause. When you pause, I'll be thinking that you want me to respond. So that's why I say something. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I just want you to say something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So they got on. They was coming after me on the last video saying, man, you always stopping them. I had like 25 comments with niggas saying you was stopping them. But I said, man, when he paused, I be thinking that he want me to respond and see what I think. That's why I was saying stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you know, me and you gonna conversate how we was doing the study group, just like if we was at Baba House studying.
Yeah.
We just allowing the people to see how we study, how we review information and bounce it off each other, so that what would normally be done in the library or in the back of the temple, now it's being done on social media for them to be able to say, oh, now I understand. Now I see why the brothers sound half crazy talking about we already won. Because they gave it all back already. This is the document. I don't want to, I ain't on here trying to, I'm with the smoke, first of all.
Yeah, right.
I'm with all of the smoke, the bullshit, the shenanigans. But right now, to get this message to my people, my chief, Larry, want me to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not, just because I'm exposing the dirty Moors, it don't mean that the righteous Moors have anything to worry about from me, because I will come in there and help them teach the truth. But it's just that there's some parts about the Noble Drew Ali as being organic from the land that I'm reading, that they not reading that part because they looking at a different part of what he brought. Right. So the brother wanted me to talk about him shutting down the meeting the nations back in the day. And he said that because I didn't answer that, that's the same fucking shit that they go over in every fucking class, every fucking Moor know that shit. Motherfuckers that ain't Moors that's encountered him already know that Noble Drew Ali went in to claim the land. But that's not a secret. Is it a secret to you?
Hey, my bad. My wife had called me. No, that ain't no secret to me.
Right. So if it's not a secret to nobody, I'm not finna address it. That's what you call common Moorish knowledge. I want to talk about the stuff that you don't know what it means. The hand gestures, the hand signs, the pictures, the codes in the writing that's for the Mississippians to read. And only a Mississippian is going to know the language because that's who he would be intending to get a message to. Right? So the Mohawk might not get the same message. Right? The Choctaw might not get the same message. Right? But the Mississippians got a specific way of communicating. We know how to tap into our genetics in order to resolve a conflict in what we seeing versus what we being told by our elders. Right? Now, look at them. They ain't us.
That's the ones you were talking about last time.
They ain't us. But when you see, this is another thing too about the pictures. When you pull Noble Drew Ali up, it's many. When you pull this up, it's the few. Right? It's the few versus the many. Who are the many? Baby kids. Why? We don't die, we multiply.
Multiply. That's right.
Right? That's the code. When they come on the land with the shenanigans, we start making more babies because they're going to come faster and faster and faster until we just overload. You can't kill us all. You can't kill us all. We don't die easy anyway. You know, you got brothers walk around, been shot 27, 28 times. You know, I know a brother got shot up with an AK-47. He got shot, so he was in a coma for 9 months.
Damn.
Right? Some Chaldeans shot him up.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? But he's just as strong today as he was before he got shot. You know, it's just we hard to kill. We ain't looking to get killed.
Right?
You know, that ain't our goal. You know what I'm saying? But these people use murder as a viable tactic to subjugate us. Pull the murder code up again. Pull the murder contract up again.
Yeah,
because they need to see this, because some of them just coming in, and I want them to see they really have. This is part of the white man's burden, by the way. Papal decree.
This is right here, right?
Yep. If you make it just big enough to read the first paragraph,
yeah,
they can go look it up. They can see what it is to go pull the actual document up. But it say Papal's most wicked and bloody oath of secrecy. And what is it for? Blow it up some more.
Okay, they blew it up some more.
Yeah. For the murdering of kings, princes, and their people, and carrying on the devilish and hellish designs for subverting the Protestant religion in England and Ireland. Right now, when this was written, this was a long time ago. This was in like the 1300s. Wasn't no Protestants before Martin Luther. The Protestants before Martin Luther was those who did not accept the Christian doctrine. The heathens. Us.
Hey, so we didn't. So before they came over here, because based on the rights of indigenous shit, we didn't have none of the three religions that came. That religion started over there, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all that started over there. That ain't
Look,
start.
it tell you when you read about the 13 colonies that they came over here with Bibles. That's not a secret.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no Muslims or no Hebrews over here yet.
Mm-hmm.
Hebrews was the backstory that was written hundreds of years after Christianity because people started asking questions.
Hmm.
So they went and wrote a backstory, then they called it the Hebrew religion or Israeli religion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where
Mm-hmm.
we still as Israel today wasn't Israel before 1940,
That's right.
48,
That's right.
right? Three countries made that Israel: America, France, and England. Those were the original three signers to the United Nations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they set that up based on something called the Balfour Declaration. Look it up.
Mm-hmm.
The Balfour Declaration was an order from one of the fake Jews to establish the state of Israel if they supported France in World War One, which they did, and they won. And when they won, they was sucking the money out of Germany. So Hitler launched a counterattack against the French, which led to World War II. And World War One saw the failure of the League of Nations. All
Mm-hmm.
this shit is verifiable. You can check it up word by word. Look this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
After the League of Nations failed, when World War II came, they vowed to establish another League of Nations and they called it the United Nations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The first countries to sign on as a United Nations member was France, England, and the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, this is part of your Illuminati advance of the Skull and Bones Society, of the Scottish Rite, who was controlled by black nobility of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is bringing the power George Herbert Walker Bush,
Hmm.
right? Because he's a
Mm-hmm.
banker, but he's also a trainee in espionage and became a CIA agent, which
Mm-hmm.
he ended up becoming the director after the assassination of JFK,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So he promised Lyndon B. Johnson that he can make him president, and he in return wanted to be the director of Central Intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Go look up who made George Herbert Walker Bush the director of the CIA,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he went from being a lowly agent now to the running the operation. Now all he got to do is wait for the only person more powerful than him to die, LBJ,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because he the one put him in power,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what do? They have to disgrace the office first. How do they do that? Watergate, Richard Milhouse Nixon, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
Nixon was he was Amish, and they're not supposed to participate in politics.
Hmm.
See,
Hmm.
so we ain't watching the long game, and we sure not too good at watching the short one. Short
Hey.
game information is this: the gig is up, the corporation failed. Before they failed, they gave you the right to restore all of the land, the territories, right, back to the original people and the resources. So if you don't know what the resources is, you don't understand the value of that statement.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to look up gross domestic product, gross national product. Look at how much oil the United States have on reserve from Texas and Oklahoma that they've been pumping. Alaskan pipeline oil, that shit not for sale on the open
Mm-hmm.
market.
Mm-hmm.
Need a drink.
Yeah, it's not for sale because it belonged to the indigenous people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They can borrow against it, fiat,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't sell it because it don't belong to them.
Hmm.
That's in Uniform Commercial Code.
Hmm.
In the Uniform Commercial Code, if you have another's property, you can use it to supply your living expenses, but when it's discovered, you have to return it.
Hmm.
You think we discovered it? You think they returned it?
No, I believe they returned it, but they ain't telling us. They ain't gonna tell us. They waiting on us to say something about it.
Power sees nothing without a demand.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, Juneteenth. If you don't know, you can't exercise your freedom.
Hmm.
If you don't know that all we have to do is unify,
Mm-hmm.
right? Come together in our sovereign capacity as individuals, that forms the power structure. Awareness is the critical mass we're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awareness of specifically our people who's organic to this land that didn't come on no goddamn ships. We not black, we not from Asia, and we not Moors.
Mm-hmm.
We organic to the land over here, the house of Tahuti.
Mm-hmm.
That's who this is over here. This is the house of Thoth. The great Thunderbird, Quetzalcoatl, however you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand that, then you don't even know where you at. You don't even know what you into. Then you should not be saying much.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't. Hey, so the term I know the term more is like it's like more of a broader term than the real names that we had of our tribes. So when I think when they say more, it's just like this like it's almost like black, almost calling us black. Like it's just a term.
It's often translated as black also.
Yeah, that's right.
See, they don't want to acknowledge that part because they would realize it's just a catch term.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as they call a person from the Middle East a sand nigga.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same way. You a nigga in America, you a sand nigga in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Right? A nigga still a nigga. They calling you what they calling you.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't name ourselves Moors.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else named us Moors. Remember, in the Indigenous Rights Act, it says you must self-identify.
Mm-hmm.
It even tell you when you research the word who was calling who Moor and why they was calling them that.
Mm-hmm. Could you break that
right?
down?
What? Who was? It was the French.
Yeah, the French.
Right, and they was calling the ones from Al Maghrib.
Yeah.
The Moors, the Etruscans, when they went into Europe, they came out as Moors.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they attacked on two fronts. They went into original conquest as Turks, Ottoman Empire, Byzantine kings.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's from the east. But when they got kicked out of Africa, they went and settled in Spain and Portugal, right? And they got their strongholders in Switzerland now. That's why Switzerland is not in any war. You've seen the Rothschild document where he said for the last 200 years, they've been funding both sides of every war. If you're funding both sides of it, you're going to be in the country that's going to be untouched by it, ain't you? Right? And who was the last people that fought the Swiss? The French, right?
Yeah, the French, 1798.
Yeah, so that's the French connection.
Yeah, right there.
You see, so when France won, they they sent all of their black nobility to Switzerland. Nobody ain't gonna look for nobody look like me and you in Switzerland.
No.
But they there, been there. Some of them is in Russia. Some of them is in Ukraine. They all through there. Khazarian Mafia is what they call them now. When you trace the Khazars back, you're going to end up in a pre-Russian country called Prussia, spelled with a P. Right? In Prussia, in the highlands of Prussia was called the Khazar. And that's the home of the Khazarians, which is the black nobility who use the pale faces to conceal their dirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know exactly who the fuck they is, who did what. I can't do nothing but tell y'all. It's up to y'all whether y'all spread the word, each one teach one, and we get to the understanding of this shit is over with when y'all say it's over with in large enough number. It's about us getting out there saying, hey, they gave us the reparations as organic people to the land, tied to the land. Once we do that, we get all of our price of gas gonna drop because we got so much motherfucking they've been pumping for 45 years, 50 years, long as they've been pumping, probably longer since they've been pumping in the Middle East.
You know
what
you
think the Mexican-American War was about? About oil territory, about exploiting resources. It was about the gold rush. Right? All that's the same land. They talking about illegal immigrants. The motherfuckers belong there.
Hey, you know what I was wondering? I was always wondering why they said that oil was reserved and they was never used. That's because they can't sell that shit. I was wondering why they ain't sold us out on that oil, man. Why they reserving all this oil? But now it makes sense.
They can only borrow money against it, fiat. They can live off the money they borrow against it, but they can't use the core substance. That's the root to the wealth of the land. You can't exploit the land like that. Right? That's why all the big mama banks got shut down by Billy the Kid.
Yeah, go break that down. Why would Billy Kid rob it? And you know what? Oh man, you just fucking man. You know what? Because in that thing, they was robbing all Indian banks. And when they was robbing all them banks, they show you that they ain't just robbing regular banks. They robbing banks in Indian territory. I noticed it.
Right, because in every town we had a safe house. The safe house was Big Mama house. The whole village will fuck you up about fucking around at Big Mama house. Right? And these were the banks, black and gold, coal, because we used to use the coal for fire purposes. And the gold. We used to use the gold for the barter system. Right? And so now they got to give it all, everything they've been doing. They've been keeping track of everything they've mined. They know every motherfucking pound of coal they've dug up. They know every pound of motherfucking nickel, cobalt, motherfucking bauxite, gold, silver. They know everything that they dug up. They've been keeping meticulous records so they can borrow against it effectively by knowing how much it is. They wasn't doing it to benefit us. They was trying to maximize their loan. You know?
Man, you going in, bro.